Michael Crosby for POTUS 2024. Among the evidence that I'm considering utilizing is the coordination of data respective to basically 300 hours of phone calls to effectively be time-coded with SAR satellite linkage. We're talking again down to a blade of grass. We've got different sources. There's so many satellites to choose from. We're thinking of going to one particular satellite set. It was locked in shooting 60 frames per second. This would make it basically one of the highest resolution full 3D recording sets that was happening. There's two other satellite angles we're thinking about. This basically brings about 75 to 90% of a given object basically being recorded in 3D, which means now you can use the computers to basically merge those gaps. So we're talking the ability to time code, time sync, because all telephones are time synced. All SAR is time synced. We've got a cross GPS time sync. Then we have the substations, the EDD substations. So as we're at the substations, there's additional video being shot that was shot. It is also time synced. It's time synced also basically recording the computers not working. They have these rows and rows of computers at the EED substations, and when certain you could put different names in and the computers would work fine, and then if you put certain names in it the computers would lock up. So this displays the repeated blacklisting, how certain names were deliberately blacklisted and locked out of basically participating and getting a hold of their COVID recovery cash. This extends to various types of parties, such as people who were petitioners, people who were basically candidates running for office. This is a direct, intentional blacklisting, violation, and shutdown of campaign elections. This is perhaps one of the most time-synced pieces of evidence in modern history, effectively coming together at a completely new level. This is something that's going to go into the game sync situation involving corruption on elections. It's a fascinating item to be able to deal with mass economic modeling and then show mass crime in action. So as this is occurring, there's these other time syncs that show how you could call in and get right through if you were not a citizen. If you would take the different buttons, basically if you take the option pressing buttons, non-citizen, you get right through. They have a service agent ready to basically service you effectively immediately. If you're basically saying that you don't speak English, again, they put you right through, but they will only handle you. They discriminate against you, even though you get through, and you say, I'd rather use English after all. Oh no, we can only use this particular language. We can only use we're only allowed to facilitate foreign languages. So here we have a system where it gets even worse, to where, you have to be a resident of another country. You have to be a citizen of another country. So all of this has instant live action. So the time syncing, the SAR, massive frame rates per second of these locations, basically, this is going to have essentially all the data, and then basically we can recreate any form of missing data for perfect 3D resolution. And this is mind-boggling. We're talking about 300 hours effectively of a campaign, 3 phones in use, basically trying to get through to the EED as it's being deliberately, repeatedly blacklisted. This is election rigging. This is deep into felony territory. And then we're showing this as, at the same time, the largest criminal operation in the history of the world was transpiring. And basically as $31 billion was being stolen or handed out as part of diversionary fraud activity, as near as the evidence would seem to suggest. This is quite incredible. You know, you have people who kept using the same phone again and again and again. Instances from the research show that there were parties that used the same phone 7 times to file claims. 7 times. You know, amazing, just amazing. You know, other instances from the research indicate that people would try to file for their benefits, only to be told that somebody already filed for them. So they were blocked because they took somebody else filing their benefits. I mean, this is just mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. They weren't set up to basically do an independent fingerprint scan. You know, I mean, one of the most incredible fiascos you could imagine, you know, because you have basically recycling centers that were open all over the state. People could go in, they could get their photograph taken, they could be electronically uplinked to the state. They could do fingerprints on certified sheets. These people are certified. Basically, these people are certified as register agents respective to transactions. You know, you go in, somebody goes in and they bring in $2,000 worth of scrap. They have to have their photograph taken. The items have to be photographed. Their fingerprints have to be taken. This is how the recycling thing works on that. And then all this is uploaded to the state. And then you have a holding time period for the state to check and verify this. All these locations could have been utilized for people to develop and get a certified person to certify that, in fact, they certified that this very person did their fingerprint, and here's the uploaded video to verify us doing it as they did it. So then somebody could take down their verification voucher and go to any one of these EDD substations. The EDD substations were basically open, but they were running on skeleton crews. Basically, even at skeleton crews, something like 80 to 90% of the normal scheduled people to be at these substations, which were learning centers and this and that, basically were laid off. And of the people remaining, their work schedule was 30% or lower of the work schedule. These things were like tombs inside, virtually. You would have some people coming in and out, doing stuff. It was very small. You'd have these rows, banks of computers that were available for people to use. You could file your application through those computers, except again, we have this time sink showing how the computers were blacklisting certain people. It's rather incredible. And as the subpoenas will end up going out, we're going to go through 100% checking of all these records to see all phone records, all time code, to see how it is that these people use these telephones, how they deliberately would keep blacklisting people. It's an amazing thing. You'd go on a computer, you'd test it, say, okay, well, let's test this and see if it works. You use a different name. You're being witnessed by staff. by EDD staff is witnessing this as it happens and saying, okay, well, if we say this and we do this and go through this way as a non-citizen or somebody who does not speak English, yada, yada, that's not a foreigner, bang, it goes right through. It'll go right through. So you can start doing the procedures, and then you go, okay, well, we're not going to finish the procedure, but it does work. It's right there to run the whole thing through. Whereas you put in certain names, such as the candidate's name, you put in my name, and boom, the system locks up and doesn't want to perform. And then you go into basically, okay, let's try another computer. Same exact thing, computer after computer, and this is verified, witnessed. This is videoed. This is recorded. This is one of the most incredible blacklisting and riggings of elections and evidence, direct evidence, ever recorded in modern history. All of this, and the subpoenaed evidence is going to show that the current ticket, that the Harris ticket, running and working with the Julie Sue factor, has the deepest questions that are going to have to be answered. So these items have to be sorted out, whether it's going to be in a declared panel court, under the rights of presidential candidate, rights of panel filing, or whether we're going to end up doing it in front of Congress or the Senate. This is something that's going to have to end up going down, I believe. It doesn't necessarily have to go to... quite frankly, the evidence is so overwhelming already. The evidence is so overwhelming, we're just considering whether we need to go through all this extra work to show what these various people did, and so this is one of the things, though, that is being considered. I just figured I'd lay out the understanding about this evidence and about where it leads and how more and more evidence. We're talking about if you time code everything and then you say, okay, we're going to verify location, people, and events that they came in so people don't lie. So we got SAR right here. Full 3D. We can verify people's identities. Boom. Undeniable. These people went to the location. They did this. It's irrefutable. Irrefutable evidence. It's just too high quality. So these, there's basically no leg for these people to stand on for what they did. And who they actually really are, whether these people are spies, foreign, domestic, or whatever, some of that's up in the air. The way to look at it is say, don't speculate. Don't sit there and grandstand and do this. Let's just get this to an fMRI situation, straight to an fMRI lie detector. Let's get lots of pharmaceuticals put into these people and go through an intensive, and I do mean extensive evaluation to get to the truth. That's what should be done. Because, there's no reason to make allegations this way or that way. Let's just get to the meat. Let's just get to the truth. Because when we're talking about people trying to overthrow the government, when we're talking about people that are connected by what would seem to be massive activity, and as we have allegations that the parties basically apparently may have had some kind of wild hairball plan that if they gave a bunch of money to certain types of people, again, we don't know exactly how the selection list would work for the foreigners. It was massively wide open, just massively wide open. So we don't know if there was a used list, a secondary comparison list as to which people would be chosen. Would these be people who would then be coming to the United States? Is this part of the reason we had a massive flood of people coming to the United States because they were funded to be able to do this? Are they going to come here fill out the paperwork, do the green card, become a citizen. Which political party are they going to join? Which political party? All this is basically fair game territory for evaluation. Without a doubt, it's fair game evaluation territory. So, the thing is ethics have to be ethics, regardless. You have to have clear, distinctive ethics when dealing with these various items. But then, again, we have certain areas where the evidence is just so irreputable, it's mind-boggling. Because, myself is, being discriminated against, I bothered to go ahead and substantiate a lot of these records. And the phone records are going to be undeniable. Again, the video footage of what happened on these computers all this stuff is going to end up being, undeniable. And then there's the log records, when you say, well, look, we could go through all this, but we want to see your log records first. Let's see your log records, because ultimately they're going to claim a lot of wisdom. Let's see your log records. Let's see how you program those telephones. How did you come up with the blacklisting, the disqualifications? How did you do that? Where did you get those lists from? These are undeniable actions. Undeniable actions. And when a candidate's being attacked, these are acts of war. These are acts of war. So when we have the Harris campaign involved with major players this way, and she was already involved in prosecutorial, multiple offices refusing to give services. One candidate, myself, was already coming under multiple attacks repeatedly and showing abundant evidence to say, look, I'm being harassed, look at these false tickets being handed out by these police officers. It's been evaluated by other states. They've looked at it and says, no, this is all BS. It's all bullshit. The definitive evidence is these people are way out of line. They've done this. Here's the list. It's 70 years in a penitentiary. Massive felonies that were committed by these police officers, and we want to prosecute. And their offices, mass dereliction of duty. Mass dereliction of duty of the prosecutorial areas again and again and again. This basically goes into dereliction of duty at the very least. We definitely have parties responsible. We have parties, basically, they committed treason there. We committed treason. And again, we're going to end up getting back through. It's going to take time to go back through the years and get these back phone records. It's hard to get the older back phone records and these other communication records and go through who shredded what document when. What other activity happened? What kind of other mass fraud was involved? Inescapable. Again, inescapable. We jump back to the COVID thing, the Julie Sue thing. For instance, I personally I talked to a lot of people that were petitioners that claimed that they were basically being blacklisted. So here are the very people that would go out and do the signatures, do the door knocking to get items on the ballot being blacklisted. These are acts of war. These are conspiracies against the process of elections. These are acts of treason. Treason. You can sit there and go high crimes and misdemeanors. It goes all the way up to treason. This is not a game. This is not a game. And for the life of me, the failure of parties to communicate rationally with my campaign is mind-boggling. Because, these people, where do they think they're going to be going? The entire series of delegates for California is seized. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, we have massive election rigging, massive attacks upon candidates, violent attacks. I've been displaying evidence for well over a year. Incredible violence coming. And then we have all these different players, different parties, different agendas, and this is absolutely ridiculous. It's almost though somebody's looked at some of this evidence, they're going, why are both parties attacking your campaign? Why do they want to destroy your archives? This is a repeated thing. What's going on here? What are these people afraid of? What are these people afraid of? What does your archive have? I'll put it to you plain and simple. Evidence. Evidence is what the archive has. Thank you for your time. Michael Crosby for POTUS 2024.